Good evening, everybody. Just to give you a heads up, the first committee tonight is the Board of Adjustments. We have one appeal, and then the conditional use will be right after that. I'll call this meeting of the Waushara County Board of Adjustments to order. This meeting will begin with a public hearing. Anyone other than the applicant or the representative wishing to speak must register and submit the registration slip to the zoning administrator at this time. Following the hearing, we will conduct our monthly business meeting, at which time we will vote on the application. You may stay and hear how the application is decided, or you may leave following the hearing. Relative to the subject property.
Me through the fault. It's the total fault of He was supposed to get a variance and he didn't. So now this whole thing has shifted on me, because now I'm supposed to have the burden of proof. And the reality is he was supposed to get a variance, just like everybody else in this county. Anyways, another thing is that now when they change this language, what's happening is it's going to affect the whole county. After I'm gone, dead and gone, it's going to be everybody else in this entire county is anybody is going to be able to chop a piece off of their lot and just sell it off so somebody can build a garage on it. And that's what's going to happen. And if you look in all the other counties in Wisconsin, everybody's got the same language. If you have an accessory structure, you have to have a primary residence, and this accessory structure is an accessory, and it has to be located on the same lot. Well, then now they changed that. So now I lose. No matter what happens, I lose.
Julie, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to wrap it up if you need it.
I'm wrapped up.
Okay,
I mean, you have all my letters and everything. So.
yes. Have a seat. Did you have I'm sorry, Julie, come back up. The committee might have questions for you.
Owns the property? Who has title to the?
Right now,
Yes, well.
Randy Bucks.
Okay. Since 1990, hands no times. Clear
Nope,
title?
it belonged to a lady. Her name was Lois. I know it's really confusing, but her name was Lois Treese. She owned it.
Because what I read was that every time it was transferred, it got clear title, next owner. So the current owner owns the property.
I don't dispute that. I mean, I'm not disputing that. I understand that you can't do anything about who owns the property.
Right.
Okay.
You live next door to this vacant land, right?
I'm disputing the fact that the person that just bought this lot in 2019 never applied for a variance. Okay, and on my survey, it says in plain English that either the people, you have to understand, it's only 38 feet wide, okay?
I know.
So then the people that are living on the east side of me or my lot, we were supposed to have the first chance to buy it.
So the lady sold it to somebody else, right?
Well,
They had
what-
First chance to buy it, so.
Well, okay. Well, yeah. I offered him $6,000. He sold it that's like a big, long story. I don't know if I can.
Julie, what year did you buy your house next door to the lot?
2015.
So that lot was there next to you before you bought? Okay, and you had a title search done with yours, correct?
They goofed that whole thing up. The
that's what
whole
you're saying.
title search was a joke. Yeah, I had a title search, yeah.
Okay,
But that was.
but in your correspondence to us, you said that your title search company screwed up.
Well, that too.
Okay,
That too.
You have
But I mean, they,
have recourse against them then.
well, definitely. Yeah, no, I understand that. But we can go to court too. I understand that.
but somebody's had that lot since '88 and they've been paying taxes on a lot there, correct?
It's been yeah, this Mrs. Lois Treese, she owned it this entire time.
Okay,
Okay. But then my lot was on their tax parcel. If you go through all those surveys, it's really hard, but from 1988 until definitely from 1999, it was all on one, because in 1999 is when they did that legal split. It was all one tax parcel.
okay.
So it doesn't, as far as that substandard Act 67, it doesn't apply at all. It's just a big smoke screen.
Okay. Anybody else? John? Larry? George? Okay, you can have a seat.
Okay.
Correspondence?
The correspondence was basically from Ms. DeBosch to the board or to you.
Okay, we have it all.
Yep.
Anyone
I have nobody registered to speak in favor or
Okay.
against.
Staff comments.
Okay. For the benefit of the board and also those in attendance, I'd like to summarize staff's report. Summary of the request: the applicant Julie DeBosch has filed an appeal to an administrative decision of the Waushara County Zoning Administrator to the issuance of a land use permit for an accessory structure on a parcel of land known as Lot 2 of CSM 4224, located along the south side of South Pearl Lake Road in the town of Leon. And I'm just going to give a little history here. On October 13th, 2020, the county zoning office approved a land use permit for Mr. Randy Rux for a 24 by 60 foot accessory structure to be constructed on an existing non-conforming lot in the town of Leon. In review of the permit application, as we do for anybody, county staff verified there were no pending violations, there were no active investigations on the property, and that all taxes were paid, and that all applicable sections of the county zoning code were being met, including all dimensional standards and usage requirements. With regard to the comment regarding the need for a variance and the accessory structure not needing setbacks, that's not entirely true. Setbacks for accessory structures in all zoning districts only have to meet 7.5 foot side yard and rear yard setbacks, and then have to meet the applicable setback from the roadway. In this instance, on South Pearl Lake Road, it would be 63 feet back from the center line of roadway. Per section 58-283, subsection C2, which has to do with substandard lots, it clearly states that lots not served by public sanitary systems may be used as a building site upon the issuance of a land use permit if it meets all the requirements of, and then there's further subsections, subsection C, subsection 1, A through D of that section, and has room for a pouch that is sized to serve the proposed use and accessory and associated structures. In this instance, the owner of the lot was proposing to construct just an accessory structure. There was no pouts, which is a private on-site wastewater treatment system, so basically the accessory structure, it was verified that number one, accessory structures are permitted per the accessory structure code 58-232. It was also verified that this lot was a non-conforming lot of record. Ms. DeBosch had submitted, as you all received, a rather lengthy packet or a rather thick packet with some case history, Murr versus Wisconsin. I forwarded that to corporate counsel along with Ms. DeBosch's appeal, and you should have in your packets also a copy of the letter from Ruth Zowski, corporate counsel. And that letter is dated June 1st, 2021, which basically surmises that the case history, she feels, and that, and I'm sorry, she felt that the case history that she cites is not applicable to this. She gave a further opinion that it was the position of the county, that the county staff and more specifically the zoning administrator acted responsibly, and that said permit was not issued in error of Chapter 58 of the Waushara County Codes. With regard to the status of lots 1 and 2 of CSM 4224, I've attached a chronological history of the sales and transfers of both lots. As you can see within that sheet of paper that I gave you, lots 1 and 2 have transferred titles numerous times. Now, Lewis Treese has a number of children. However, some children, it was bequeathed to them through a deed. Then it was also purchased. And then Randy Rux ultimately purchased lot 2, in accordance with that timeline. The board conducted an on-site on Monday, June 14th, 2021, so as to gain a better understanding of the basis of the appeal. The board viewed the vacant lot, the home of the applicant, and the packet of information regarding the appeal. While the board was generally supportive of the actions of the zoning administrator, question was raised over the legal aspect of the lot. I once again consulted with corporate counsel to obtain her opinion, and it was her opinion that the lot in question has been legally recorded, and it has been on record since 1999. It has unquestionably changed hands numerous times in violation of the CSM notes, and has been on the tax record as a buildable lot for almost 2.5 decades. The county acted responsibly in issuing the original land use permit. I would like to make one other comment, if I may, before I conclude. There was reference regarding the code amendment in 2020 regarding the revised language and the definition. As you're all aware, every year we go through our codes and any discrepancies that we identify are quickly clarified. This bears no weight whatsoever in terms of the request made by Ms. DeBosch. A discrepancy was identified, and all we did was revise the language to reflect the current policy and direction of the county, as well as to make sure that it was in compliant with 58-232, which is the specific section regulated to accessory structures. The definition was pre-1984. When I talk about current policy and direction, this is current as of 2008. That's when the accessory structure code went into policy or went into act. Staff has reviewed the request as well as corporate counsel in the county and believes the zoning office acted responsibly and justly in the issuance of a land use permit for a non-conforming lot, as the applicant of record on the original land use permit satisfied all requirements of county code. Staff is therefore recommend denial of the appeal of the administrative decision of the Waushara County zoning officer to an approved land use permit as noted in your report.
Any questions of Todd? Julie, your rebuttal, come on up.
If what Mr. Waller is saying is true, then why did they change? Why in 30 days after I started complaining, did they change the language?
We were in the process of amending the codes at the time that you identified that, and this was an ideal opportunity rather than making a change. And the change has nothing, as Ruth Zowski has given you an interpretation, said that your request would go back based upon the old codes that were on the book at that time. If you read the letter of that law, nowhere in there does it state that an accessory structure has to be built with a principal structure. It says an accessory structure is clearly subordinate to a principal structure and therefore permitted.
Well, okay. If the particular controls the general, that means that the more restrictive language applies. And you have to apply this Wisconsin Act 67. For one thing, the Act 67 doesn't have anything to do whatsoever, has nothing to do with a variance. So that's just one big rabbit hole.
No.
Okay.
Not according to corporate counsel and our legal interpretation.
She came up with that like about 15 minutes.
No, because if you recall, Ms. Schultz also
Okay,
had several conversations with you, as I did, informing you about Act 67 and the property rights bill.
There's not, the lot is too narrow. And if you look at what his print is of his building, he can't fit it on there.
We have narrow lots throughout the county, typically on old cottage lots that are adjacent to the waterways. And they are considered by definition, legal non-conforming lots.
Yeah, it happens to be 2021. I mean.
But this lot was done 21 years ago, 22 years ago.
No, it wasn't. It was
1999.
Okay, 90, you're right. Okay. I object to just the dimensions of what is allowed and what's not allowed, okay? Just based on the fact that the lot is too narrow, right away, boom, that he has got to apply for a variance just based on that one single thing. The lot is too narrow.
Hence, it's a legal non-conforming lot. That by definition, it met the definition of legal non-conforming.
Okay, what about the U.S. Supreme Court decision in 2019, which says, as plain as can be, your whole substandard lot argument just went right out the window.
That Murr case does not apply to this, and Ruth Zowski gave you that interpretation.
I can read
Okay.
it with my own.
Well,
That's not true.
okay,
I object to that. That's wrong.
okay.
I don't care who she is. She doesn't just, you've got to look at you have to look at the size of the lot and the size of the building, how close it is to my neighbor. The survey is just a complete mess. I mean, we don't have a decent survey at all. Somebody subtracted 5 feet right off of my lot. It's just chopped it right off. What about my neighbor's letter? You're supposed to read their letter.
Her letter did not pertain whatsoever to the appeal. It had to do with the
Well,
fact
listen-
that you claim that,
No, no, no.
that your
the
net,
letter from my neighbor.
right, your letter to the neighbor claimed that Mr. Rux was moving property lines and markers on you. That's a civil matter that has nothing to do with the appeal,
I'll read it. Give it to me. I'll read it.
ma'am.
Nope, we're done.
Okay.
What?
You're done with the rebuttal
They
time.
have a right to have their letter read.
The letter does not pertain to there was no mention whatsoever in terms of the legality and your appeal. It had to do with the fact that the property owner, the next door neighbor, there was complaints that trees are being chopped down and thrown on properties.
That's
And-
not true
okay.
in that letter. Give me the letter. I'll show it to you. They right in there.
We're
They're
done.
talking about how they
Julie,
got cheated out
done.
of their lot.
Julie, we're done.
Yeah, I'm done too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other thing from the board? That'll conclude the hearing. We'll go right into our business meeting. Call order, roll call, show the board members here. Motion for approval agenda, please.
That's a move.
Motion approved, second.
I'll second it.
I have a second, all in favor? Motion passed. Approval of minutes from June 17th. I think everybody has a copy of that tonight.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve, a second.
I'll second it.
I have a John Shirk, who's a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
The next one is the hearing, the appeal tonight.
Need a motion?
Whoever wants to do it.
I'll make a motion to deny Julie DeBosch's appeal to an administrative decision of the Waushara County Zoning Administrator.
Second the motion.
And the reasons why you want to deny.
The applicant for grant and appeal is denied for the following reasons. The interpretation of the zoning code is correct. The order or decision was within the jurisdiction of the zoning administrator. No substantial or new information was presented by the appellant that would justify or support a reversal of the original decision, and no improprieties or mistakes of law were presented by the appellant that would justify or support a reversal of the original decision.
You've heard the reasons. We have a motion, we have a second. We'll take a roll call vote. George Federman. John Benz.
Aye.
John Shirk.
Aye.
Larry Tim. Kevin Fitzgerald, aye. 5-0. Anything else, Todd?
The only item I wanted to discuss, if I don't have any extensions for variance applications or anything, but I did wanted to point out, we didn't have a business meeting on Monday. So I just wanted to include for your information, a copy of our most recent budget, as well as our permit activity. Permit comparisons from January 1st to June 30th. As you can see, we're receiving just an onslaught of development requests. Our land use permits are up by almost 30 land use permits compared to where we were in 2020. And that was a record year for us. Sanitary permits are up at a high, and our public hearings are also up at an all-time high. One thing I would like to point out, just with regard to the budget, my expenditures are going to be much lower, and that was in part due to COVID and the fact that many of our conferences have been canceled for spring conferences, spring travel, that type of thing. Also, I did have money budgeted for an intern. We actually had no applicants this year, unfortunately, for an intern. So that money will be thrown back into the general ledger. And then with regard to revenues, you can see my revenues are way up. My land use permit fees, I've already exceeded where I anticipated we would be at the end of the year. Now we've already exceeded those numbers. Good news, I guess, just in terms of building activity. Bad news, I guess, for the amount of work that we're all experiencing, but it's good.
Are the boys overworked back here or what?
And that's all I've got. We have no applications at this point in time. Next Wednesday is the deadline.
Thank you, Todd. Anything else, board? Accept the motion to adjourn. Larry makes a motion to adjourn second. George, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good night.
Hey, Robert.
All right.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Speaking. One that's speaking from the just register favor and not.
Todd's got it.
There's yours.
All right.
So. 7:22. Ways meeting.
Here, but I think we want the rest of it.
Oh, okay. Oh, and I got to give everyone their packets. Very important. You wouldn't mind just at the pat. Hey, John. Couple packets. Okay, you got that. I put on there, yeah, the time limit one. Yeah, these guys back here are gonna kind of keep watch.
Here. Waiting for one of our committee members. I think he went to the restroom. So bear with us.
This thing like way too narrow. Except you're skinny, so you can get in and out.
Okay. I think that's where we went. That way is the restrooms like that.
Over there.
You went out?
Do you want me to go check? See?
Oh, maybe.
Okay.
It's here. I think he's here.
Yeah.
Sat next to him earlier.
I don't understand. The bathroom light is on. Back hallways. Is he?
That way.
Sometimes he'll put it.
He's here because he sat next to me earlier, so I guess we'll get started on this. I will call this meeting of the Waushara County Planning and Zoning Committee to order. This meeting will be conducted in the same manner as the applicants heard by the Board of Adjustments. Please remember to keep your comments brief and relative to the matter at hand. The same time limits will apply to testimony, which is 5 minutes for the applicant
outside of committee questions, and 3 minutes for other testimony, including any rebuttal by the applicant. Anyone other than the applicant or the representative wishing to speak at this hearing must have registered outside the door with the yellow slips. Anyone who has not should do so immediately and submit the registration slip to the zoning administrator to my right. The committee has looked at the properties and the record will reflect these observations. Following the public hearing, the committee will conduct their monthly business meeting, at which time we will vote on the applications. You may stay and hear how the applications are decided, or you may leave following the public hearing. Any person affected by an administrative decision of this committee has 10 days from the filing of tonight's decision to make an appeal. Such appeals are heard by the Board of Adjustment. Information and applications are available from the zoning office. The county assumes no liability and makes no warranty as to the legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of this 10-day period. I will now introduce the committee. In the back, John Van Amerongen, I probably killed that. Mike Cap, who's missing in action, but he is here. Okay, he snuck in. Okay. Pat King, Jared Lauer. My name is Robert Whale, the chairman of the Planning Zone Committee. Todd Waller, the zoning administrator. Rick Erdl is acting as secretary, and Kyle Kuchar is out in the hall there. The first application we will hear tonight is a conditional use for the Wild Rose Gun Club, Wild Rose, Wisconsin, has made application for conditional use in accordance with section 58-236, paragraph 15, and 58-454, paragraph 13 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to conditionally establish and expand an existing gun club in the AG General Ag Zone. Location, a 20-acre parcel of land known as the west half of the northwest quarter of the northwest quarter, section 29, town 20 north, range 11 east, town of Springwater, address N5674 20th Avenue. Is the applicant here? If so, would you come up to the microphone? Tell us what your plans are?
Hi, Fred Cook. I'm the secretary of Wild Rose Gun Club.
Okay, want to tell us a little bit about what's going on up there?
Yeah, what we'd like to do is extend the current rifle range that we have so it's a full 200 yards. We're also going to take the back berm that catches the bullets and we want to raise that up as a safety factor. The whole project is just to make the gun club safer and easier to use for all the members. We're also going to berm along 20th so that we're trying to keep I'm going to put it, we want the club to be as quiet as possible for the neighborhood. So that's primarily it. We've already logged it. We have not moved any stumps or any dirt at this point in time, waiting for the permit, which we didn't need when we did the first gun club or, the first extension of the club. So, I mean, pretty much that's it. You've got all the information, I believe. We don't know if we're going to add the second rifle range at this year yet, depending on money and how much donations we get. But we will be moving the berm back, extending it, and raising the berm in the back to catch the bullets.
Committee probably has a few questions of you. Anybody here? I have some. If not, I have some if you guys don't.
I'm going to guess we're going to go to the far eastern lot line as far as we can go and pile on top of that. We're going to make it as high as we possibly can. What the actual vertical limit will be, I'm not sure. Right now, I'm guessing 18 feet.
It's around 18 feet right now. It should be
Yeah.
up to 35 by the time you're.
So that's where we're going to go with it.
And are there neighbors right behind?
There
Suburban?
are, if they are, they're half a mile away.
Okay.
We have neighbors to the south. We have a subdivision to the west of us, But as far as east goes, it's all farmer fields.
Subdivision.
There's a subdivision, but there's only 4 homes and they're all along A. Or maybe it's 5 homes.
How long has the Rod and Gun Club been there?
Oh, Lord, it goes back to the 20s.
20s?
Yeah, it was originally a rod and gun club. The property that they had for the fishing was west of Wild Rose. I'm not even sure where it was, but that's, like I say,
Has there been any incidents reported or recorded as far as stray bullets or noise or after hours shooting?
nope, not that I'm aware of. I've been a member for 10 years now. I'm not aware of anything over the entire history of the club.
And is it my assumption that the only way you can get in there is to be a member?
Yeah.
I mean, somebody can't come off the street and start shooting out there.
Well, if they want to climb over fences or go over berms and that kind of stuff, there's no way to absolutely prevent them from doing it.
Understand,
But we're trying to make it as difficult as possible.
And you have to have a membership to get into the club.
That is correct. And you have to, that's where you get the code for the gate.
Do you have any events on weekends?
We do trap and skeet.
And there's been no complaints or?
Not that I'm aware of.
Any other questions, gentlemen? All right, you can take a seat if you'd like for a while.
Thank you.
Correspondence.
All right. Do have a couple letters here. Obviously, with a gun club, of utmost concern is safety. So I did reach out to Sheriff Wally Zolke and asked him if he was aware of anything with regard to the gun club, negative or positive. And he wrote me back on Friday, June 25th and said, "Good morning, Mr. Waller. This email is in response to our earlier conversation in reference to the Wild Rose Rod and Gun Club located at N5674 29th Avenue in the town of Springwater, Waushara County, Wisconsin. Had an opportunity to look up in our RMS, and I did not locate any complaints about the Wild Rose Rod and Gun Club, and to the best of my knowledge, has been in existence as long as I've been employed at the sheriff's office, which is 27 years. I don't believe the expansion will have any negative effect in the area or community. Have a wonderful day, Sheriff Wally Zolke." Received another letter, and that dated July 6th. And this is from James T. Curran, who's the owner of the Birdsong Estates. And it states, Waushara County Zoning Office. I am unable to attend the meeting on the date. However, I own Birdsong Estates LLC subdivision, which borders the gun range. The existing residents at Birdsong Estates subdivision have a valid request from the gun club. First request, they are requesting, along with myself as the owner of Birdsong, that Sunday be a day of rest. No shooting for shooting on the range. I live just 2 miles from the range, and this past weekend was shooting each of the days on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday on the 4th of July weekend. I believe that there should be consideration for Sunday being a no shooting day to allow the neighboring residents some consideration of being quiet. Next, can there be a day during the week when the AR-15 type automatic rifles with high capacity guns be limited to a daytime period between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. again on a weekday? Last Saturday and Sunday, these type of AR-15s were constant from mid-morning to 1 p.m. I can hear them from my house 2 miles away. I know the entire village of Wild Rose can hear them more easily than anyone else. It is my hope that you have input from the village as well. Please provide some quiet time here. Please note, we are not asking for a termination of shooting above, but a valid request for quiet time, rather unlimited shooting, which is in this case at this time. Based upon the use of the range, shooting times appear unlimited. We can only hope that this expansion will not create a trap shooting field and events. That should have shooting distance from 20th and Highway A for safety reasons. I hope the expansion goes more in the direct way from both of these, more in the direct away from both of these roads. The current rifle range is too close to both roads right now. With all the land, I feel the range should be 100 yards from any roads and protected with barriers over 15 feet as they are in other ranges. Right now, they are open by eyesight from 20th and Highway A. The land is wooded and the ranges should be embedded within the woods and east for safety reasons. By current gun laws, the shooting ranges are too close to 20th and Highway A. So if you are hunting in the current ranges, You could not shoot a gun of any type. Please address this, as the expansion of land should secure safety even in the accident, shot, or point of a gun in any direction within the barriers. I thank you in advance for your time and consideration of the reasonable request stated above. And James T. Curran, owner of Birdsong Estates.
Correspondence?
I have nothing else. Nobody registered to speak in favor or objecting or informational.
All right. Staff comments.
Okay. As stated in the report you have before you, the applicant, Adam Kelly, acting on behalf of the Wild Rose Gun Club, is requesting a conditional use to conditionally establish and expand an existing gun club in an AG general agricultural zone in the town of Springwater. I had met with the applicant back in February of 21 to discuss possible expansion of the facilities. And it was basically to increase the overall usage of the facility, and that obviously with the increase in gun sales and gun usage. I've attached in your packet, you should have a copy of my on-site notes as well as the notes from the applicant. And it's quite clear on there that they're just looking to expand, provide an additional two pistol ranges, expand the existing pistol range slightly north, or excuse me, slightly east, and then possible expansion for an additional rifle range, which would go to the south. The committee visited the property at the recent onsite on Wednesday, July 14th, 2021, and were generally very supportive of the request. They felt that the gun club has been an excellent neighbor and operation for as long as members could remember, and understood the need to expand given the increase in recent personal weapon usage. There basically were no other comments. Staff has reviewed this request and believes the expansion to an existing gun club should be in no way have a detrimental impact upon the surrounding neighbors and or the community. While the committee will be making a formal recommendation on this request later in the evening, staff is recommending approval of the conditional use as listed in the staff report that you have before you. That's it.
Do the applicants have a rebuttal at this time? Anything you wish to say or add? Yes, please.
With the addition, we haven't been able to finish the addition because we're waiting for the permit. When that happens, we're going to berm the west side, which is up against 20th. Okay. So they said we're going to extend the backboard. You have to understand that everything that we're doing right now is making it safer for the neighbors as well. Our rifle range used to run from north to south. It wasn't safe when we were shooting trap or skeet to use the old pistol range or the old rifle range. So we moved everything. So it's now you shoot from west to east, away from the subdivision and away from any neighbors that are close by. And the whole idea is to make it as safe as possible for everybody. We've got 100 more members this time of year than we did last year. Again, it's all the gun sales. We have to have a safe place for people to shoot. Going out in their backyard just doesn't cut it. Our family membership is $40 a year. A single membership is $25 a year. That's less than what it takes to go to a gun club, say in Appleton or Oshkosh, where it's $40 an hour. So this is a nice, inexpensive way for everybody to go out and have a good time shooting. And as far as our times, we shoot from 10 o'clock in the morning until dusk. So we're very close to what that gentleman is. We're actually better than what he's asking for. Any other questions?
Has there been a rash of these multi-firing rifles like the AK-47, what the gentleman referred to, or is that just?
On Sundays, well, our club is open 7 days a week, okay, to any of the members. The rash is, I don't know what he's saying when he says AKs. I don't know how he knows what it is that they're shooting over there. But we do have high-powered rifles out there as well as 22s. Pistols range anywhere from 45 caliber on down to 22. On Sundays, it will get a little noisy. That's when we shoot trap and skeet. So you may have 8-10 people out there all shooting at the same time. Half of them doing trap, another half doing skeet. But again, we're shooting away from him, and depending on which way the wind is going, I don't know how we can hear that 2 miles away. We have, except for the along 20th Street currently, Okay, the entire property is ringed by tall trees. And we also have smaller fir trees all the way around. And the only reason it's open on the west side is because we don't have the permit to build the berms. Oh, anybody else?
If I could add, this, with regard to the comments that were made by Mr. Curran, Kyle, this would probably be the first instance we've ever heard of any comments relative to the gun club in terms of any noise or any complaints whatsoever.
Yeah, we're not aware of any.
Yep. And nor is the sheriff's office.
Okay, thank you. Have a
Thank
seat.
you. Have a good evening.
The next application we will hear is Victoria Tripp, Marquezan, Wisconsin, has made an application for conditional use in accordance with section 58-236, paragraph 21, and 58-454, paragraph 30 of the Waushara County zoning code to establish a proposed home-based business with construction of a 22 by 32-foot accessory building to be used for a gift shop and to allow a seasonal vendor / farmer market single-family dwelling to be constructed on the same parcel in the AG General Ag Zone. Location: an approximate 15-acre parcel of land known as the southeast quarter of the southwest quarter, section 21, town 18 north, range 13 east.
Wants to speak on behalf of the gun club, and I'd like to. Yeah, well, I mean, he wants to speak on behalf of that. And it was, I apologize, I didn't see it registered on the bottom.
All right. Go
So
ahead.
for the record.
Go ahead.
I'm the neighbor right to the north, across from the gun club. And I just want to make sure that there are checks and balances on how high that bermage will be. Is there? The 15 feet is what he said. We'll try to get it as high as it can, but that number, if he leaves it at 7 and doesn't do anything about it, who comes in and makes sure that bermage is higher?
There are DNR standards that they have to comply with, and that's one thing when they come in for the permit, and that we'll work with the DNR and sheriff's office and make sure that it's of adequate height.
Okay, and can I ask a question on shooting hours? Maybe I propose something?
I
'Cause, I mean, the 10 o'clock shooting times, it's before that. I mean, I hunt all the time out there, so between September 18th, when bow hunting starts, that's my biggest concern here, is there's a lot of shooting going on, especially with 100 new members and the expansion of this with gun club, which I don't care, make it as big as you want. But between September 18th and January 1st is when the bow hunting season is. I don't really care about after gun hunting, but from September 18th to gun hunting, could we reduce the hours on that? Instead of an hour, instead of right at dusk, maybe an hour before dusk, we stop shooting?
That would be
Deer
up
like
to,
come out, you know?
that would possibly be up to the committee.
You know, I think that's pretty fair and reasonable, and they are really good, especially during gun season. They don't normally shoot. I mean, most of them aren't hunters, so.
Have you reached out to the club members?
I have not. I mean, it hasn't been bad, but now that they're adding 100 new members, that kind of, I think that would concern anybody who's got land across the street.
So you're just asking for a hour,
I mean, our reduction from bow hunting season until end of gun hunting season,
the
or
rest of the year you don't care?
I don't care. No, I might even join, but
We'll take that into consideration, sir.
okay, appreciate it.
Thank you. Getting back to the other one, sorry, folks. The location, approximate 15-acre parcel of land known as the southeast quarter of the southwest quarter, section 21, town 18 north, range 13 east, town of Aurora, address W1502 Cypress Avenue. Is the applicant present? Would you step forward, please? Kind of tell us what you're planning out there?
So my husband and I are planning on building a residential. First and foremost, we want a residential house, and that's going to be closer to the northeast property line of the acreage. I also would like to build about a 25 by 30 approximate storefront that would be somewhat closer to the south side of Cypress of the lot line. So that'd be towards Cypress, about 200 feet in towards 49. Driveway would be off of Cypress. It doesn't come off of 49. There'd be no parking nowhere near 49. Have a basically during the warmer months of the year, I want to be able to have like a farmer's market craft vending fair that's out with that storefront. Not a very large one. I have a maximum of about 20 sellers I would care to have out there only on a Saturday. And it would just be the mid-morning to early afternoon hours. It's about what I want to do, what we want to do.
Okay, probably be a few questions for you.
I'm sure.
Committee questions?
Is this like a garage type structure?
It would be about the size of a 3-car garage. It's just not going to look like a garage. You're going to have a walk door on both sides, one that faces 49 and one that faces the east side of the property. So where the driveway would come in off of Cypress, if you have any of the drawings that I sent, it kind of shows where the driveway goes in. The driveway would go either straight to our house or it would curve off to go up to the storefront. So you would have a parking area next to what you would consider maybe the back or the front of the store. So just a walk door on both sides.
Have you discussed this with the town?
I have, yes.
Town
We
board?
actually, we had a meeting there last week and they did approve if for conditional use, for residential conditional.
Okay, and you're sure where all your property lines are?
Yes.
So you're not parking or something on the neighbors or?
No, yeah, we're actually staying quite a few hundred yards to the west because, or I should say to the south, So we're nowhere near the neighbor's property. And we had actually met the neighbor who's farming that piece of property right now. He actually has alfalfa on it. So as far as we're concerned, he can still even farm that little bit more of the north area.
I'm going to ask a question.
Sure.
Victoria,
Yes.
I think you've talked to members of my staff.
Mhm.
You are aware of the fact that this building is going to require commercial codes?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure you're aware of that.
Yes. We had the soil testing done for a mound system also.
Okay.
So that we know the soil is good and will house everything because there's obviously gonna be a restroom inside of that. Obviously there's gonna be a restroom both places, so.
Yeah. Okay.
And you said primarily these farmers / vendors are going to be on Saturdays?
Yes, just on Saturdays. It's the only day I plan on having it. The store will be open throughout the week, and it's only gonna be during the warmer time of the year. So because we're not gonna pave anything. It's not gonna be like a concrete area for them to set up on. It's gonna be grass and then, we don't plan on tearing any of the lawn up at all. So
Sure.
the building's gonna be smaller for a reason. So most of that good stuff happens outside.
So we'll be limited to number of vendors or sellers?
Yes. I have a limit for just up to 20 and that's it.
Okay.
For parking reasons and everything else too. We don't want the whole yard parked up either. So for
Okay.
their vehicles to unload properly and be safe.
Are there any other questions of the committee? Right, correspondence.
Okay. I haven't received any written correspondence yet from CJ Young, who's the town chair. However, we did have a rather lengthy conversation, and we're both generally very supportive of the proposal. We are in agreement that a conditional use at this location was much more preferable to a zone change. Because then that way, if in the event that the boutique or the shop and that should ever cease operation, the use of the building can basically be converted right back to general agricultural. So that was basically our comments, but CJ was supportive of the request.
Okay. Anyone wishing to speak? You may have a seat if you'd like.
Thank you.
Anyone wishing to speak in favor?
I apologize. I do have a person registered, registered only in favor and wishing not to speak is Shirley Johannes. And that. Oh, you're not in favor? Okay. What would you like to register? Okay, so you're registering only in opposition, but wishing not to speak. Okay. All right. Do you want me just to go ahead into
Sure,
the,
go
okay, give me 2 seconds. I have another gentleman Alan Johannes, registered only in opposition, wishing not to speak. I got Pierre Paulsier. Okay, Perry Paulson, registered, okay.
Wait here. On his property, they buy that, they're next to me. I have the property east of them. And when you go to the southwest corner, it's a swale hole. They can't get rid of their water. If they buy that, I want a DNR plan where their water's going. Plain and simple. I need that.
Okay, I have Charlie Haas to speak in opposition. Charles, sorry.
I would like to invite our new neighbors. I think a house would be very nice over there. I think a nice shop that he could work in would be very good. But we have a very fast highway going right past their property. There was a death last year or the year before. There are many accidents throughout that road. We do worry about a waterway since that corner right there stays wet all the time. When I bought that property 7 years ago, which I live, and my wife and I, our property adjoined their property, directly north of them. Talked with the Youngs about trying to fix that bottom corner because their water is constantly there all the time. We have what's called, I was told, a duck pond right there. So that'll give you an idea how bad the water is on that property. Hunting, fishing, shooting, we do it all. I have cattle, I have horses, I have chickens, I have ducks. I have 15 grandkids, and I'm sure they're going to have them as well. But we do everything on that property. We spread manure everywhere. I do have the alfalfa and the hay right next to their property. I've discussed this with them. They seem to be great people. I have nothing against that at all. I am very worried and very concerned about a business growing there. I don't feel that we bought the farm to be in the country. My neighbors bought their property to be in the country. We don't expect businesses to be right next to us. We like the farmers market in town. We go to that. We go to the Omro farmers market. We buy from farmers all over. We sell eggs, and we're just in the situation where we really don't want a business there. Like I said, we'd love to see a house there. We'd love to see another family with kids running around, but we didn't buy what we bought to have a property, to have a business. So, okay.
All right, thank you.
I have one more. Kim Haas, registered only in opposition and wishing not to speak. That is it.
All right. The next application, which I'm sure,
Nope, let me- if you-
oh, I'm
yep,
sorry,
that's okay. I'm just going to get into, yep.
staff comments.
Just like to give a summary of the staff's report. As stated in the report you have before you, a summary of request is the applicant Victoria Tripp is a prospective owner and operator of this property, is requesting a conditional use to establish a home-based business with construction of a 25 by 30-foot accessory building to be used as a gift shop and to allow seasonal vendors and market in an AG general agricultural zone in the town of Aurora. I submitted or went out to the property and photographed the property in various angles, north, south, east, and west. You can see the property. It's basically old farm cropland. Once again, based upon my conversations with CJ, given the fact that Route 49 is a more commercial and a higher trafficked roadway, this isn't a full blown out commercial use. It is not going to be, it'll be smaller in nature. And it was for that reason, I think that CJ and myself, were generally supportive of it. We've reviewed this request. We've reviewed all the documentation. And once again, just based upon what we've seen, a small use like this, it is appropriate at that location. We do have a couple concerns, however, regarding the timing and construction of the residence, as well as the placement of the future structures and the activities. However, I think the conditions as listed in the staff's report, just ensuring that the timing is coincidental in terms of the shop and the home. We don't want to see the shop, get on the property or be built prior to the home. The home should actually be built prior to, or at least at the same time. That way we have a, true home-based business. While we understand the committee will be making a formal recommendation on this later in the evening, we are recommending approval of the conditional use to establish a home-based business as listed and subject to the conditions in the report that you have before you.
Okay. Did the applicants have anything to say in rebuttal? All right, thank you. Next one, which I'm sure everybody's been waiting for. Alliant Energy, Madison, Wisconsin, has made an application for a conditional use in accordance with section 58-236, paragraph 20, and 58-454, paragraph 29 of the Waushara County zoning code to conditionally establish a 99 megawatt solar energy farm on 624 operational acres of an approximate 1,283.5 acre developmental project in the AG General Ag Zone. Location, approximate 1,283.5 acres generally south of State Highway 21 and west of State Highway 22 in sections 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 15, and 16, Town of Dakota. Are the applicants here? Would you please come forward?
Sure.
Do I really only have 5 minutes?
6.
6 it is. Thank you. Thanks everybody for coming, by the way, tonight to hear about our project, and thank you committee for hearing us. This presentation was quite a bit longer, so I'm going to do what I can to really boil this down and narrow it down and make it as brief as possible, but just forgive me if I run over. I'm going to do some really quick introductions. My name's Andy. I'm the project manager for this project for Alliant. I've got Brian Karzinski here with Stantec. They are our environmental consultant. Over there, we've got a senior project manager, Zimmerman. Eric Jensen is also with us, who's our consultant. So they are our subject matter experts. We might have to field some questions that go their direction tonight. When you look at the agenda there, I was going to talk really quickly about the solar energy effort in Wisconsin. Unfortunately, I think I'm going to probably skip that because of timing. How we arrived at the point of this project. I think I might just jump right to the solar project in general to talk about the conceptual plan that we've got, the substation and generation tie line. I might just glance over that. There are plenty of frequently asked questions about this project that we'll touch on, such as the impact to property values, impact wildlife, and glare and noise. So with that, I'm going to skip over this. This point I want to talk about here, for all the people that don't know, we submitted about in late March a certificate of authority with the Public Service Commission. That's a requirement for an electrical utility when they're spending approximately $8 million on infrastructure improvements or equipment improvements that they have to get approval, which is no CA. We did that in that application along with 5 other solar projects that we have going on of different megawatts that was put to the Public Service Commission in late 2021. We are expecting to have a decision on that probably within about. CAs, of course, are not a permit. All the permitting is done at the local level, and that's why we are in front of the committee today. It's generally about 12 months. It would be about resources service commission. All of the information that we're going to present to you tonight is available publicly, and it's all on the Public Service Commission's website. The docket number is 6680-CE-183. So if anybody has any information on this, you can get online and take a look at it at your leisure. There are volumes of information. One of the questions that has come up quite a bit on this project is to why in my backyard, why in the city or in the Wautoma area? What about other areas? Of course, Alliant Energy has a certain size footprint, and they're looking to, for lack of a better term, they would like to distribute this and spread these projects out. They've got 12 projects that are going in, proposed to go in 9 different counties. But when you look at the particular solar farm and the siting criteria, one of the primary needs that a solar farm has to have, we have to have be close to an available ATC transmission circuit of 69 kV or up to 138 that has capacity. Okay, when I say capacity, ATC has been doing a lot of work in the last 20 years, building up their reliability of their infrastructure. Not all of their transmission lines have capacity. X11 that goes through town actually has capacity. So that is an extremely important element that you have to site your solar farm generally close to ATC transmission circuit and actually close to an endpoint, being a project substation. In this case, there is a Wautoma substation in town. Acreage, we need to, of course, have enough acreage for the 99 megawatts, which comes out to about 624 acres. Ultimately and ideally, we would like to have that acreage as contiguous as possible with landowners that are participating in a tight area. We also need to have a project that is constructible. So we need to find, in a perfect world, we find flat land, fallow land. Perhaps it's agriculture. In this case, it is agricultural. It's 95% agricultural. It has to have good geotechnical properties. It has to be, once again, in preferably fallow land. We also need to avoid all the environmentally sensitive areas, including wetlands. That's probably one of the most key points of all of this work, is to avoid wetlands and avoid environmentally sensitive places. To the extent practical, of course, we want to be in a sparsely populated area. So this project, of course, as I talked about, is 1,284 acres of developmental area, which includes the solar arrays, the primary solar arrays, the alternate solar arrays, the access roads, the project substation, and all of the wetland and environmentally sensitive areas that are within the footprint, but of course won't be developed on. At the end of the project, once it goes commercial operations, it's at 624 acres. It's 95% agricultural. That represents about 0.1%, 15% of Waushara County's agricultural lands. So again, it does not include wetlands or environmentally sensitive areas. Our construction time frame, assuming we get approval, if we get approval from the Public Service Commission and we get all of our permits, we would be looking to be breaking ground Q2 of 2022 with a completion date of late 2023. This is, I'm sure, what people are really focused on. This is a high level, very high level view of what the project looks like. I don't want to get into too much, but the pink areas represent conceptually where we are planning to have primary array areas. The areas, oh, I'm sorry, hold on, I tried to use the pointer. The The slightly brown areas, of which are kind of over by the airport, those are alternate array areas. Those are areas that Public Service Commission actually requires us to have 25% extra land control. In case for whatever reason we find that we can't actually build in one of those pink areas, which means we could move one of our arrays down to perhaps the airport area. So that's a Public Service Commission requirement to have 25% extra land.
Andy, if I could, based upon that, where are the KV lines in location, or where are they at, in location to this?
You're talking about the generation tie lines?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the project substation right here. Generation tie lines, sorry, my hand is shaking. Goes right through here over to the project's Wautoma substation right here. That's 3,500 feet of what we're calling a generation tie line. ATC has that, for all the people that know this, that ATC's got a circuit there. Each structure is actually what you call an H. 7 of those structures will be removed and will be replaced by a single structure. But instead of there being only 3 cables, conductors at the top, you'll see 6 cables for about 3,500 feet. Does that answer your question?
Yep.
Okay. This is what a typical solar, I'm going to skirt over that so you guys can actually see what a solar panel looks like. These solar panels are 3 feet by 6 feet. They are what we call bifacial, so they actually can collect the sun on the front side and also collect the sun on the back side. In case you have a sunny day in the middle of winter, you'll actually be able to generate power from both sides. They are what is called a monocrystalline type of a panel. They will be, after 30 years of life expectancy, they'll be approximately 85% still. They will have only lost 15% of their efficiency. So they will still be very useful at the end of 30 years. One other thing is what it doesn't show that our project, our panels actually will rotate, they'll follow the sun. So in the morning, they will be facing east and they follow the sun throughout the day until dark. I'm going to glance over this because I've got some other things to talk about here. Deer exclusion fencing, the entire project, other than the substation fencing, will be surrounded by what is called deer exclusion fencing, which is common to what people see along the side of a DOT highway. It's not chain link. It's got slats that are about so big. They generally will keep, and they're meant to deter deer, meant to deter larger animals, coyotes. I'm not going to say bears, but probably bears. Our plan is to have them about 7 to 8 foot tall. They will be secured by wood posts in the ground. Once again, the intention is, safety-wise, they're intended to keep humans out, but also deer. Okay, small mammals we're probably going to be able to rehabitat the area and come and go. Once again, I talked about the project substation. It will be about 800 feet to the west of 16th Drive. It's about an acreage within the fence, about 1.5 acres. It will have a stormwater detention pond and a parking area that will be a total of about 5 acres. And I already talked about the generation tile line. That's an example right there of what you might see in terms of the new generation tie line poles for 7 spans. The Public Service Commission requires us to do a number of studies, one of which is a visual simulation study. They tell us to demonstrate what the facility is going to look like before and after. So Stantec Environmental went out and it's really hard to see, but they took photos beforehand, obviously beforehand. Here, there's one right down here, I think. To be honest with you, I can't see this well enough to actually see where the rest of them are. I believe you took photos in 4 locations. That's right. What I'm going to show you now is visual simulations of what that area looks like now versus what it will look like later. This is a view to the southwest along State Highway 22, which is, I think there is a veterinarian clinic just to the north of those bushes. That might represent the last. That's what it looks like now. And that's what it would look like in the future. If panels are conceptually placed there. I know it's hard to tell, but you can see the ear exclusion fencing in the foreground. This is a photo. It's a view from the southwest from the intersection of 22 and 16th Drive. And in the future, it would look similar to this. This, of course, does not have a visual buffer in front of it. That's the project substation, by the way. This here is a view from the northwest from County Highway Y. And this is what it would look like afterwards. Once again, you can tell the panels are going to be about 8 to 10 feet tall, depending on how they're angled. But when you have a 250-foot setback and they're out in the distance, it's hard to make up it's easier on the eyes. This is a view from the southeast along State Highway 21, and this is what it will in theory look like conceptually when the solar farm is built. I threw in a couple slides here to just show you what construction looks like. I think people think construction can be very invasive and very obtrusive, and there's a lot of earth moving. If there's one project and one type of construction on the planet that is very invasive, it's solar farm installations. Piles being driven this way, they track on soils, they don't turn up the soils too dramatically. Here's what it looks like with the framing in place while the initial grass is starting to grow around the solar farm. This is just people installing the solar panels themselves. Public Service Commission expects us to put a decommissioning plan together. So we have put one together. The expectation is that this project will be decommissioned at the end of 30 years. Of course, there's always an opportunity for the landowners to agree to a repowering or a possible extension, depending on the life and the integrity of those solar panels out there. But right now, the plan is to decommission. I say decommission, all the land, the leased land returns to an agricultural production if the landowner so chooses. They can leave their fences in place, they can leave the access roads in place, but ultimately it's up to them. All the above ground assets would be removed. The project substation, I think Align Energy would prefer to keep that if we could. But that will be a decision about whether or not it's leased or purchased. Of course, the options for the panels, there's a lot of different things you can do with the panels. Align Energy's focus would be if we could keep them and use them on the site and continue using them, we would. If we wanted, we could repower them. There is a potential that we would have to recycle them. Now, recycling, there's already, it's funny that the thought was that there are no recycling companies out there recycling solar panels. There's actually, we've already identified 3 that are currently out there. Our feeling is that in the next 30 years, there will be a big market for solar panel refurbishing and recycling. These panels actually, if they have to be disposed of at landfill, they go in as a solid waste, not as a hazardous waste. So frequently asked questions. How does a solar farm affect property values? Because that comes up a lot. If you catch me at the end of this, or if you collect this document, this slideshow tonight, you can get on this website right here. That takes you to an Align Energy website, which has a report. And within the report, it has a couple of links that take you to the very few available reports that have been provided that are out there for the public to see associated with property values, solar farms. What it does say, those 3 of them, I believe there was one done in Indiana, one done in Illinois, and one done in Texas. And all of them show that there is no decreased property value around solar farms. So like I said, if you want more information on that, I suggest that you get on that website, our website rather, and take a look at those links. Frequently asked questions about glare and noise. We are also required, of course, with the state of Wisconsin to do a glare study for solar panels and a noise study. the Stantec, of course, our environmental consultant, did both of those studies. The results show for glare, and they actually do a modeling simulation at all the residents in the area and also do modeling simulating glare for drivers on all the roads at 5 feet and also as if you're driving a truck. And there was no glare issues revealed on all of the PV arrays for those simulations. Noise, same kind of thing. We do pre-construction. We're required to do pre-construction and post-construction noise monitoring. The pre-construction, of course, has already been done. Stantec goes out there, they simulate or they take ambient noise levels in the area. Then they will simulate what the inverters will sound like and what the transformers will sound like. And what they found is there was no appreciable noise. There was no noise above the Public Service Commission's standards. And the Public Service Commission standards are a daytime level of 50 decibels and a nighttime level of 45 decibels. Just for everybody's reference, 42 decibels is about the sound that you hear in a library. Will the solar farm disrupt the habitat or deter the wildlife? When you're looking at the 95% agricultural land, the philosophy, the new perennial vegetation cover will provide a suitable habitat for a variety of wildlife species such as pollinator-friendly insects. When I say insects, I'm actually referring to butterflies and hopefully honeybees. Also ground nesting birds and small mammals. Once again, the fencing is not meant to deter the small animals. The thought is they will rehabitat the area. Actually, there will probably be a continued, if not better, biodiversity for the solar farm. Once again, so moving on. So what does it mean for the community? Thing that I always like to talk about is about the number of homes that will be powered by this 99 megawatts. It's about 25,700 homes on a sunny day. That is a tremendously positive impact in terms of that power generation and what that's doing for the state. The project is not consuming commercial or residentially zoned areas. In terms of the solar is now, of course, the cheapest way to produce electrical power in the United States. When you look at fossil fuels right now, it's 5 to 17 cents per kilowatt hour. Solar is now 3 to 6 cents per kilowatt hour. We wouldn't be having this conversation 10 years ago because, but that market has changed that dramatically. The state's shared revenue program, of course, which Alliant contributes to and electrical utilities contribute to, will be a component of the local tax revenue. The $396,000 that the county and the towns will receive on an annual basis, of course, is part of that shared revenue. Then, of course, the other economic, there will be about 100 to 200 construction workers on site, 15 months, which every single one of those employees is a potential daily consumer of products that come out of Wautoma. So it should benefit the businesses. Once again, and then during operation, there could be some contractor as well for the maintenance. Environmental benefits, the way I look at it, while harvesting the sun's energy, the agricultural land that we're using gets a break of 30 years. And if we're lucky, the soil, the regrowth of the vegetation within those solar panels, growth, death for 30 years, you might be sitting on some better soil over time, more stable soil. And of course, the replacing the fossil fuels with solar is going to improve Wisconsin's overall air quality. And, last one is the increased surface water quality of the local creeks and rivers from the lack of ag runoff. I know I took a lot longer time than I was supposed to, and I apologize, but that's it.
All right.
Thank you.
The committee probably will have some questions for you.
Sure.
This time. Committee members?
Do you normally put trees or shrubs around the fencing of the solar panel area so that it can't be seen from eye level, like cars driving by? Is that a normal thing?
That is, it's not a normal thing. It has been imposed or it has been recommended and it has been part of other conditional use permits, but we don't typically do that.
Okay.
I wrote down a few. Maybe it'll answer some of the people that registered to speak. If it does, great. If not, they'll have their chance. You said up to, can't remember the number, but there'll be several jobs. How many of those will be sought out locally? Or are they brought in from Alliance, other areas or headquarters?
Yeah, I don't know. Rick, can you speak to that?
Yeah, so during.
So most of it'll come from outside the area. Is that what you're saying? But not Waushara County workers. We have a big operating engineer school just west of here, but okay. Do you have any results of other sites and how far along they are? Any controversies, people for, against? Do you have any results thus far? Or is this all in its infancy state throughout the state?
From Alliance perspective, it's pretty infant. There are other projects that are going on. There are in the state of Wisconsin, and you can find all of that information on the Public Service Commission websites. And actually, I brought along a couple of docket numbers. But if you look at projects of this scale that are actually bigger than this, Two Creeks is a solar farm over towards the lake, along with Point Beach. Those have also, are they up and running yet? Do you know? Okay, Two Creeks is, and Point Beach is not. Badger State is another solar farm, and that I don't, another 2 years out. So that has been, it's in the permitting, but it hasn't started yet. Badger Hollow is another one, 300 megawatts over in Iowa County. The construction of that is,
Do you have any feedback as far as,
And as a matter of fact, I guess I can answer that if that's all right. I actually contacted Scott Godfrey, who's my counterpart in Iowa County. It was a 300 megawatts, so it went right through review of PSC. It didn't go through the county. However, they have not received any negative comments to date.
okay? You touched briefly on what you would do with the used parts, grids if they break it through normal wear and tear. There is a recycling company or companies that will accept them.
there were 3 up on the website and are up on the slides. And I don't, be honest with you, I don't know where they're located. My point of putting them up on the slides is there is an opportunity for recycling in general this early in solar, in the solar, what I would call the infancy of this industry. So whether or not they are in the area and can accept a solar panel that breaks or we have to refurbish them in the state of Wisconsin, I'm not sure.
Okay. Have you, I believe if I look at the map right, some of them are proposed near the airport. Has there been a study done to see how this may or may not interfere with pilots coming into the Watoma Airport?
Yes, actually, the airport and actually 10 adjacent airports within 10 miles were all studied in terms of glare that the solar panels would give off. And of course, in particular is the city municipal airport. What they showed is that there is glare. It's a minor amount of glare. It's called green glare, but according to the FAA, it is not problematic. So the airport area was studied.
Okay, and this is, I guess, as a consumer, how much of this power that's being generated will be available to the Watoma residents or surrounding areas that Alliance serves? And will they get a reduced rate in their normal?
Can you?
Yeah, so, these sites are being built.
Okay, you said you would put up deer fences.
There will be.
Okay, the
Although-
deer are creatures of, I don't know what you want to call them, but they'll follow a path around that fence trying to find a way to get in. If they don't get in, they're going to go across the highways, 21, 22. Have you thought of putting a fence within the fence or outside the fence to kind of, if they would somehow get in there, to channel them to a safe area to cross, such as a deer crossing or something? Is that possible, feasible?
I don't know if we've considered that.
Because there was, I'm not 100% sure I know what I'm talking about, but I've been accused of that before. They did make a turtle crossing up on State Highway 73 to divert the turtles so that they didn't get smashed on the road. I know you can't build a tunnel under the highways, obviously, that'd be too cost prohibitive, but is there some way that you could, because otherwise I just hate to see the amount of deer traffic that's going to get splattered on 21 and 22. And the deer numbers appears to be up. I'm not a DNR expert, but it seems like there's an awful lot of deer collisions. I mean,
Well, we can definitely look into it. It has not been considered for this project.
because if you have the one fence protecting your assets, you're not protecting the highway and the people that travel on those highways. The deer are going to go willy-nilly wherever. Just a thought. One more question, and I promise I'll shut up for a while. What are on a scale of 1 to 10, what are the danger aspects of this solar farm as far as to the general public?
1.
1?
Yeah, I mentioned this the other night at the Town of Dakota meeting. It is.
I was not there, so
Okay, well.
if these are
well,
repetitious,
No,
I apologize.
it is one of the most, if it's the most safest way to produce electrical power known to man. You could build a hydroelectric dam. If you could find it and site it, maybe that's a little safer, but otherwise it's very safe.
Okay, thank you. You can have a seat for right now. I'm sure.
I got one question.
Okay, Jerry?
Well, how do you upkeep the land when you have them up there? Do you just let the grass grow, or do you go in and mow it every so often?
You mow it every so often. I don't think it's mowed on a weekly basis, or it might be mowed on a monthly basis, but the goal is to vegetate it with a, I don't want to say a knee-high type of a grass. It will be a prairie mix that has some Wisconsin native and some non-native species to get some kind of a foliage or a prairie grass type of an environment. I don't want to misspeak. but is that about right?
Any other questions from the committee? All right, you can take a seat for a while,
Should I sit? Well, all right.
wherever it's comfortable. Correspondence.
Yeah, and I'm going to jump right in. On Monday night, I had also attended the Town of Dakota meeting. And there were several concerns that were brought up by the residents. I know there was a woman in the audience that her husband had a pacemaker, and it was concerned regarding what type of effect will EMFs or, this facility have upon that. Also, there was concerns regarding cancer, radiation, disposal. And I'd just like to address those. I did contact or reached out to Patty Wolfel, who's our Director of Public Health. She's done some research in that and has provided me with a couple reports. But first and foremost, I'd just like to, based upon these reports, is that the solar panels and solar farms have no negligible, not even an impact whatsoever. It's non-negligible. And that's even identified in the American Heart Association study that talks about EMFs, and it talks about those devices that may interfere with ICDs. And they specifically state in this report that solar farms in proximity to those, given the fact that there's no generation of power literally at those facilities. And also when you talk about the distance, from typically residents, it's been negligible or non-negligible. The big concern was solar panels that are actually located on top of people's homes, because there you're actually converting the energy, generating power, like literally within a person's home. And they say that there's literally the EMFs that people are being exposed to in their own homes with solar panels is actually somewhat dangerous. The other thing that we talked about was the disposal of the panels. And once again, there was a report that was actually put out by the NC State. It's called the NC Clean Energy Technology Center. It was the health and safety impacts of solar photovoltaics. And that was produced in May of 2017. And they said that literally these, and we talked about, can these be disposed of? The material that is in those is so minute in terms of anything that's hazardous that these have met the standards that they can be, if they are disposed of, put into standard landfills. They were saying that, and I know something that Alliant had talked about is, and what the study shows is about 95% of those panels, now this is relatively new, but their lifespan is about 25 to 30 years. Most of them are either repurposed, recycled, or resold. And they've only found that about 5% are actually finding their way into our landfill system. And I think that was one thing that was discussed. And if anyone would like copies of these reports, I'll be more than happy to share those with everybody. But that came directly from Patty Wolfel. I have some other correspondence, and I'm going to read them in to the record. Town of Dakota, and I'm going to read them in the order that they were received. July 15th, dated today, addressed to Robert Waddell, Chairman, regarding the Alliant Energy conditional use permit for solar farm. Dear Mr. Waddell and honorable members of the Planning and Zoning Committee, on July 12, 2021, approximately 50 citizens attended the Dakota Town meeting, and many were concerned about the proposed Alliant Energy solar farm. After listening to and evaluating the opinions of the constituents, the Town of Dakota Board is making the following recommendations to Planning and Zoning Committee regarding Alliant Energy's conditional use permit application. Number one, more time should be taken to study the solar farm's operation potential effects on the environment, wildlife and watershed, and health of nearby residents. For example, those who have pacemakers. Number two, Alliant Energy should be required to create a buffer zone of trees of similar plantings to screen the solar panels from surrounding residences' view. Number three, there should be a condition in the permit that Alliant Energy reclaim the land after they abandon or discontinue using it as a solar farm, and that any cleanup necessary should be at Alliant's expense, not at the county's or town's. Thank you for your careful consideration of these matters. Respectfully, Melanie R. State Clerk, on behalf of the Town of Dakota Board. I have a number of others that I'm going to read. Some of them are so lengthy, and I got to tell you, it's literally so small that even with my cheaters, I'm going to have a difficult time. So I'm going to read basically some of the highlight points that I've highlighted here. The first is from John Waddell. Their first concern and doubt I have is about the efficiency and reliability of the solar project as a viable source of energy for the area. Then he references the state of Texas experienced a significant winter weather event in which there were brownouts, and he's concerned about brownouts or blackouts in Waushara County. Another concern I have is the repurposing of agricultural land for this project. He's concerned that the footings and that will remain under the surface of the soil that will prevent tilling for future tilling on the property. And I will tell you that as part of, should this proceed forward, we always have a standard condition like we do for cell towers and we do for non-metallic mining. The developer would be required to post a surety bond. And I'm right now working with corporate counsel in terms of estimating that dollar amount. They would be required to remove any and all structures from the property, and that's below grade and above grade. And, you know, that's either done by them. If they fail to do so, then we go into the bond amount. Alliant Energy claims that this project would help farmers and create jobs. This is very misleading and not true. Negative impact it would have on the environment is a major objection. And then he just talks about the avian and the mammal species that this would possibly decimate. Then it talks about that these technologies have been labeled as green or clean. Solar panels are constructed of various toxic materials, making them very difficult to recycle and otherwise dispose of. I'm overwhelmingly concerned about well-being of residents that are being exposed to the toxins that would be produced in the event of a fire or other emergency. And then basically that too much is still unknown about these types of, electric magnetic fields, thermodynamics, noise, even low decibels, and other things associated with powers that could affect humans, pets, and livestock. And then basically it concluded, that obviously John is very much opposed to the development. And I apologize, that was very even difficult for me to read that. June 23rd, we received from Clay and Kelsey Swen at W8833 Cottonville Drive. To whom it may concern, we wish to voice our great displeasure to the proposal made by Alliant Energy for a conditional use application to establish a 99 megawatt solar energy farm in Waushara County. As landowners of the neighboring property in the proposal, we are concerned for the impact these facilities will have on our property value, as well as the impact on our natural setting and wildlife as a whole. We strongly urge the county and township to hear the voice of the concerned citizens and deny the implementation of this facility in Waushara County. Received June 30th from Douglas and Edna Riley, who live at N1699 15th Avenue. To whom it may concern, we are writing to note our disapproval of the 99 megawatt solar farm proposed to be built in Waushara County. Our concern starts with the mismanagement of good agricultural land, as well as the impact this farm will surely have on the bountiful wildlife this county has. We are also concerned with the negative impact this farm will have on property values in the county, especially mine, that is a touching land neighbor, Another various concern we have is how this farm will affect my health. At very minimum, I request a radiation study to be conducted concerning my property specifically. Thank you, Douglas and Edna Riley. Received June 30th. And I can't make out the gentleman's name, but it's Bud Bohan at W8970 Cottonville Drive. Oh, I'm sorry, Brad. Sorry about that. To whom this would concern, and you're gonna have to apologize, you're writing it. Says, I'm gonna make the best I can. Just wanted to voice a big concern regarding the solar panel project in my neighborhood. I think the people that have to look at it and live with the industrial feel of a fenced-in project should have been contacted long ago. Okay, should have been contacted long ago. The impact of all forms of wildlife is a major concern of mine and all others around one things. It will disrupt nature and migration routes for many species, let alone the amount of food lost. The things will be an eyesore and not too appealing. I guess money talks as usual. To put these in a beautiful rural ag community sucks. I knew that would get a chuckle. Right. Sorry, I have to read it. I don't think anyone involved other than the money folks would want to look at and drive by the eyesore every day. Would you have owned property out here for years, bought more and moved up here to get away from industrial looking stuff? Myself and many others in the community strongly disagree with this, especially the field south of Cottonville Drive and really others. Money. Thanks for the chance to express my opinion. Brad. Yep, you're welcome. Next was received on June 30th from Maxine Jeanette. Being a member and paying electric, we seem to be having a problem with our WPL Solar 2 project 6680-CE-183 Watoma. We have a lot of wildlife out here that will be put out of their livelihood and homes. D7, D8, D5, D6. The flocks of wild geese, wild turkey, deer, and small critters. All the neighbors surrounding this area are all concerned and upset, and there are quite a few of us around this area. To see these poor creatures and birds that have to give up their area is sad. They were all here before us. The food that is raised on this land is beneficial to the wildlife and also the people. Is there anything you can do to help us put this solar project somewhere else? We weren't given a chance. Thank you, Maxine Jeanette. And that's all I have for correspondence.
Anyone in favor to speak may speak at this time.
All right, I do have a registrant wishing to speak in favor, William Roseman. What, I'm sorry. Rosenall, sorry. Bill, ouch. Sorry, Bill.
I appreciate the opportunity. I'm going to be very brief. I had the opportunity to attend the meeting in Dakota on Monday, and I want to really reach out and appreciate the public involvement and concern. But what I heard a lot of was concern that was emotionally based on misinformation, a lack of understanding or lack of education. I did also hear a lot of information that was based purely on rumor control. Please take the opportunity to take in some of the education, some of the actual facts, and consider that when you're looking at the property owners who are putting up their property for this project, this is their property, has been for generations. They know exactly they're your neighbors. They probably had some of the same questions, some of the same concerns, but were able to overcome those. And look at the fact that this is their livelihood. This is their property. They may be giving up farming, maybe giving up generational farms for this opportunity. I just need you to really strongly consider that what you're doing to your, potentially doing to your neighbors.
Anyone else
Okay.
in favor?
No.
Right? Anyone objecting may speak at this time.
Okay, so, and I assume, and please tell me in that there was nothing checked, but I'm put it in the speak in opposition. Gordon Seafelt?
Come up to the
Please-
microphone.
Please
Gordon.
come up to the microphone.
Necessarily to speak for or against, but I still have some questions that I couldn't make the other meeting. So the first question is, how much water is going to be required for this project, and is there any chance of pollution?
Is it all right if, can Alliant answer? Yep.
With your permission, he can answer.
Of course.
Okay.
Yes. Water is an issue in this county because of the levels of lake rising and falling, and has people concerned where that water is going and how it's being used. So how much is going to be used for construction? For what? Dust control, okay. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. They don't have to be cooled or anything? Okay. Okay. No, no issues with the pollution. Another question is China involved in the sourcing of these panels? Next question. Is this issue something that a countywide referendum should be applied to? Should the voters have a voice on this? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Gordon?
Okay, next, and once again, please tell me how you, it's Neil Altenberg. Do you wish to speak in favor or against, or there was nothing on the? Yeah, please.
Sure.
Yeah, I understand. We actually run two meetings concurrently, and that we ran the Board of Adjustments earlier prior to this. Yes, I apologize that. Concerned citizens. We've
Let
got,
this gentleman speak. He's got the floor.
Yep.
Little courtesy, please. We may, there's more objections.
Yep, and we've got a bunch. That's,
All right,
appreciate it.
thank you. Next one.
Brad Boughton, to speak in opposition. Well, Brad, do you have anything more to add outside of your? And Brad, I have to thank you for registering. Bobby would be pleased. Bobby would be pleased that you actually registered to speak here.
Next one.
Dan, you can go now. No, I'm just kidding. David D. Riley to speak in opposition.
Good evening. My name is Dave Riley, and I'd like to thank you for the time to speak against this project. I live at W8768 Cottonville Avenue, sort of the epicenter to the project. I have two specific concerns. First, reclamation of the project as outlined on page 25 of the presentation that we saw. Specifically, when I did research into the project, talks about anything that's above 4 feet below ground or further up. And it's my understanding that there will be concrete pedestals along the way. There will also be some conduit that's drilled underneath the riverbeds, at least in 2 locations across the west branch of the White River. 30 years from now, I'd like to see if this project goes through, I'd like to make sure that that stuff is indeed removed, that it no longer remains. So reclamation specifically. My second point would be along these lines. There's been research that's been done according to property values in Indiana and Illinois and Texas. Well, who wants to live in any of those 3 states? Smart people from Illinois have moved to Wisconsin. And the best township in Wisconsin is Dakota, as proven by my wife who came from the township of Mount Morris to live with me in Dakota. So I laugh because my brother-in-law is sitting in the back, and thankfully all the guns and knives have been taken before we got there. But I want you to know I appreciate you all. And if this has to go through, I think that property owners who are nearby ought to benefit first. Other places with other projects, property owners nearby have benefited, whether that's a reduction in my electrical rate or my taxation rate or however it might be. I really believe that I'm a host to this project. I'm a host. And people ride by my nice new road, which some of you all had something to do with. And I'm very grateful for that beautiful blacktop road. Very grateful. And I'm proud to be part of Dakota and Waushara County. But as a host of this project, I believe the host should get the most. So thank you so much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Next up.
Okay, Mark Dalkey, registered to speak in opposition.
The only thing that I really have to say is I'm very disappointed the way the township, town of Dakota, the county of Waushara all the people that were in charge of this, that knew about these projects a long time ago, never put it out to the people other than maybe a little ad or something like that in the paper. This should have been on the front page of the Argus, billboard, Oshkosh, Northwestern, whatever, so that more people did know about it rather than being blindsided like I feel we have been. Not saying that it's wrong, but that's the way I feel. Next thing I have to say is, as to the fences, why do we need the fences? You put up natural fences, be it tree lines or whatever. Fences and gates and locks and that only keep honest people honest. If somebody wants to get in there and damage something, they're gonna get in there and damage it. I feel that we don't need any fences, which means that the deer and the turkeys and the antelope and everything else that's around here can live right in these solar panels. They're not gonna hurt the panels. They're not gonna climb up on them. That's about all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Doug Riley, registered to speak in opposition.
I'm the guy with the pacemaker.
Put away your cell phone.
And I guess I'm still not thoroughly convinced that that it's not going to be detrimental to my health. I have a little monitor sits on my nightstand, and it conveys the signal over to a clinic in Appleton, and it has to pass over a group of these farm panels. And I'm still not convinced that this magnetic field will not hinder the transmission of my signal to get there. And I'm still not convinced that this is the best land use. I've lived in this area my entire lifetime, and boy, I can remember year after year just truckloads of sweet corn and beans and pickles being hauled off of those fields. And it just, I still question if this is the best use of this property. And I think somebody else is going to give testimony about the decreased land value. We have a person, a neighbor that put their property up for sale. And as soon as they found out that they had an offer on it, and as soon as they found out that the farm was coming, they rescinded their offer. So these are my concerns. Thank you.
You. Next.
Okay, Maxine Jeanette is registered to speak in opposition. Do you have anything outside of what was said in your letter?
Have a big issue concerning the solar panels.
Could you move the microphone down a little bit, ma'am?
I have a big issue concerning the solar panels. I had a piece of land on the south end of these proposed solar panels, ready to sign the papers after about 2 years of doing the right things to get it sold. The purchaser said, solar panels, no sale. And I really needed those funds to keep limping along. And the wildlife in the 31 years I have lived here, they are phenomenal. I have wild turkeys hatch in my woods and many deer. And they all go to the hill, even the bees from the beehives. And the hundreds of geese and cranes in spring and fall that fill that hill, it's phenomenal. And we have a lot of people surrounding that certain area with health problems. They shouldn't have to live in fear for their lives because of these things eating at them every day. This chosen area by Big Pharma is not a good choice. We were not given choice. There's a lot of people surrounding this area that do not want it. There are other parcels. I thank you.
You. Next.
Anthony Peterson, registered to speak in opposition.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Move the microphone back up. You're a little taller than he was.
Absolutely. I just want to go on record saying that one of my complaints about this project is that the time frame in which
I feel like that we were notified, which is the neighbor. I live at 1701 15th Avenue. It seems to me that we just heard about it a few months ago. Originally, when they planned this, it was to go at the airport. Nobody had any concerns about that. Now, the way it looks, it's not going to go by the airport at all. That's just a secondary, maybe. When I asked Bobby Bant about that, he seemed to indicate that some of the airport land was purchased with DOT money and they couldn't use that land. So I think that's something worth looking into. I don't understand it. But if that's true, we should know that. I guess I would say that it would be fair if you guys could hold off on your vote tonight to see if maybe we should have a referendum vote. I think there's better locations for this rather than, they wanted open land, right? That's what they said. Big plots of open land. Go up by Hancock where there are transmission lines, substations, and no deer in the field, everyday feeding, or any other wildlife. You're putting it next to a 2,500 acre wetland that those animals come out of there and feed on them fields every day. We get to enjoy that. That's why I purchased that property where I live. I would ask each and every one of you to consider, would you like this interrupting your life, where you live, your wildlife? We enjoy Waushara County. We love the town of Dakota. I don't think our town board did us justice. I'm hoping that you folks will do us justice. Consider this and see if we don't have some other avenues, other places that this could be placed that would fit their needs as well as ours. Last thing, I understand that 29% of this project will be paid for from federal money. That's great. It's your money, your money, your money, my money. Then they're going to sell us the electric. Why am I paying for this twice? If you're using my taxpayer money, we should get a discounted rate on the electricity. But then again, you'd have to give it to everybody, wouldn't you? Because we're all taxpayers. I work for a living, just like you guys. I don't want my taxpayer money spent that way. Big government needs to quit spending money they don't have. Live within your budget. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. Next.
Judy Mccall, registered to speak in opposition.
Hi, I'm Judy Mccall. I live on N1745 15th Avenue. The big hill everybody keeps referring to is directly across where I built my home, so I could see all the wildlife. Every single morning, there is a handful to a dozen deer that come out of the wetlands and they come up on that hill and they eat. Whatever crop the farmer has put in there, they eat. His fence line is going to keep them out of there. Now, I understand they can't upset the wetland